Daily Broadside, day 451. It's a Ray Bradbury day, I guess. I wasn't really a problem child. I was difficult, but I don't know if I'd call myself a problem child. But I grew up next to Mr. Clark. And Mr. Clark was probably 20 years older, maybe more than my parents. And Mr. Clark was Mr. Wilson to my Dennis the Menace. You know, we had a hate-hate relationship with one another for most of the years of my formative growing up. Sometime around my high school years, I guess I matured enough to where we all made amends and we could live next to each other. But until then, it was a little troublesome at times. And I remember I was probably 4 or 5 maybe, and my parents were talking at dinner one evening, and my mom had been out mowing or something, and they were arguing about grass clippings, and he was just real particular about his yard, and so was she, which was kind of weird. But he didn't like how something went down, and so she was kind of pissed off at him, and so she was venting to my father about this, and I'm listening. And Mr. Clark had just bought a brand new Cadillac. I think it was a Coupe de Ville. I don't think it was. Maybe it was a Sedan de Ville. Anyway, burgundy. All the majesty of an early '80s Cadillac. And so I took it personally that she had or he had done my mom wrong, right? So I went over there the next day and rubbed gravel into his hood, and so that was the day that they learned that they have to be careful about what they say about me, because I'm very protective about people in my little circle or whatnot, and that continues to this day. I don't rub gravel on people's new cars. So I have more respect than that, but I do take it kind of personally when people do things that improperly afflict the ones that I care about. Which another funny Clark story, later on in those teenage years where we were kind of, we just learned to live with each other. I mean, we weren't inviting each other for dinner over to the house, but we got along, as well as could be. And we put everything to bed. And so she went over there one day to tell him that, hey, we're going to be out of town vacation for a week. And this was my into my fifth grade year. So I guess, well, I take that back. I guess we made amends a lot earlier than I thought. So yeah, because I was going into sixth grade, and we were cool, I guess, and all. Copacetic, as it were. And so she's like, hey, just so you know, we're not going to be home for a week. If you don't mind just keeping an eye out or whatever. And he's like, I would, but we're going to be out of town too. I'm like, all right, cool. So we went down to Wilmington, North Carolina, where back then you could cruise. It was a port of call for cruise ships, and we went out of Wilmington over to Bermuda for a 7-day cruise. And so we get there the first night, and back then it was either, or at least on this cruise line, it was 6 o'clock dinner was early, 8 o'clock was late. So we chose 8. So we show up to dinner the first night, and who's coming out of the early dinner? Mr. and Mrs. Clark. Now, I got to tell you, nobody ever mentioned, neither one of them mentioned to the other where we were going on vacation and all, but I've always been amazed at the odds in life. They say it's a small world, but what are the odds that your next door neighbor, who you have very limited communication with, would go on the exact same cruise out of the exact same port, the exact same week? And the only thing weird about it was the fact that they ate dinner at 6 o'clock and we ate dinner at 8 o'clock, It's a tiny world is really what it really is. It's not small at all. For all the millions of people in the world, you end up going on cruises with your neighbors. But yeah, so I was watching a video yesterday, and this lady was all distraught. I don't know where she lived. It seemed like it was somewhere in the Midwest or something, or west of here, I guess. And she looks out and she shows video of her porch area. And there are, by my count, about 42 million Mormon crickets just on the walls, on the ceilings, on the lights, on the patio, on everything. Just black dots as far as you can see. And she's all upset because, they just can't even go in her house or in and out of her house without them, interfering. They come inside the house and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, this is a perfect opportunity to get back at the Mormon crickets. All you got to do is buy like 4 bearded dragons and a couple chameleons. Put them on little dragon leashes, so they don't go anywhere. Maybe some like landscaping string or something. It's not really going to be real taut, and just, tie them all together so they don't go anywhere, because you don't want to lose your dragons. I don't know what they cost these days, but they're not free. I know that much. And just set them outside. They will start annihilating Mormon crickets like you would never believe. I mean, that's what they do, right? Now, last night, I woke up at 3:21 this morning, so I've been up for 12 hours or something. Going strong. No sleep till Hammersmith. And I learned that the great Cormac McCarthy died last night, or I guess yesterday, maybe. And sad. I don't read a lot of fiction, but I love his stuff. Him and Dan Jenkins are like the only fiction people I even appreciate. Like, I'm just not into fiction. But great American writer, and no one in the history of authorship, if that's a word, has ever done dialogue as good as Cormac McCarthy. When you read his books and his dialogue, you sound like you're in West Texas, even if you've never been there. It's pretty dang cool. I don't know how he does it. And he doesn't even use like punctuation. It's really weird to get used to at first, because you're like, what the hell's going on? But you read that stuff and you can just hear the twang in these people's voice. It's really cool, the way it plays out in your head as you're reading it. So salute to that. Good dude. Lived a good life and pegged away at it, man. Like he didn't have any success for like the longest time. He's selling like 4,000 books and just kept writing for like 20, 30 years, and then finally struck it big and made all these movies, Children of God, No Country for Old Men, The Road. All his books became movies and all this stuff. And Blood Meridian, muy perfecto. And if you're dumb enough to plant and want bamboo on your property, you deserve what's coming to you, because that stuff is just a juggernaut that is going to make your life an absolutely immeasurable hell. And again, you deserve every bit of it. You did it to yourself. Get it.